We're discussing a tight race in Washington District 3 for a U.S. House seat between Democratic incumbent Marie Gluesenkamp Perez and Republican Joe Kent. I'm joined now by Stephan, a political science professor at Washington State University Vancouver, to discuss the congressional race between Gluesenkamp Perez and Kent. Mark, thank you for being here. First and foremost, how does this race, as tight as it is, affect the national scene?
It matters quite a bit. The fact is that there's only about 24 or less competitive races around the country in the House, and each party is desperately hoping to win one of those seats in each of those races, and so the 3rd District matters to both parties quite a bit.
Obviously, Gluesenkamp Perez with a slight narrow lead right now. Is there anything in this race specifically that stands out to you at this point?
Yeah, I think the big thing is that though the lead is still narrow given how many votes are still left, it's a better cushion for her than it was in 2022 at this point. She only won by 2,600 votes that time, and she's ahead by quite a bit more at the moment. So as long as things continue to sort of break evenly from this point on, she wins the election.
And obviously, at this point in time, this would be her second time being elected for that seat, first time in a general election, not a midterm, but a presidential cycle. What does the difference in voter turnout look like when you have a presidential election versus a midterm?
It really matters. Midterm years, the amount of people that vote goes down a certain percentage point. Not a huge amount in this part of the country because of mail-in ballots. But the fact is that more people are voting now than they did in 2022. And again, if those people who are voting this time around for the presidential year are breaking for Gluesenkamp Perez for all sorts of reasons, again, it's in her benefit. So Joe Kent has a tougher climb if that's the case.
And so far, we're seeing that she's outperforming her numbers in Clark County, Cowlitz, and some of those other counties in that district as well. What about the messaging from either candidate do you think is standing out to voters so far?
Well, it seems like that at the margins, at least, because it is a competitive race, the margins matter. It's about Gluesenkamp Perez's focus on everything local. She is hyper-local in her focus, and she has actually been criticized by Joe Kent for this, for not thinking necessarily with a national vision. And she just keeps coming back to the idea that the 3rd District is all that matters.
And of course, Joe Kent has been arguing for a while now that inflation needs to come down. He's, as you mentioned, taking a more national approach here, mentioning the southern border as well and immigration. 2022, we saw this race as a microcosm of kind of a national scene. This time, with the way that it's turning out for the Republicans, of course, Donald Trump now the electee, it seems like it's more of an anomaly.
Yeah, quite possibly. It may be that incumbency is helping for Gluesenkamp Perez at this point, but the fact is that Southwest Washington is doing something a bit different than the rest of the country, and it's going to take a little time to figure out what that difference is. But there seems to be something going on. It'll
be interesting to continue to follow up, see what happens there. Of course, this is a tightly close race between Marie Gluesenkamp Perez and Joe Kent. Let's take a look at those numbers one last time here. Right now, Gluesenkamp Perez narrowly leading Kent, 52% to 48%. Once again, this was a close race in 2022. Seems like it's shaping up to be once again.